Yes, Pencilman 945 here. Welcome back to the video. Um, in this video, I am going to be talking about my first impressions of Mario Kart World. Because I switched to on Thursday, did the unboxing video. Um, and I've been playing it for yeah intermittently over the past 2 to 3 days. Um, and I gotta tell you, I fucking love this game. It is amazing. It is so much fucking fun, but like in a very different way to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and in a way which, in my opinion, makes it so that both are very much still worth playing on their own as separate games for if you want different unique Mario Kart experiences in 2025. So, what I really like about this game is the whole concept and idea behind it just works so well. The interconnectivity of it, in my opinion, just really worked because, I think there is some real genius in the way that they designed this game because when you do the Grand Prix or the knockout tours, you are exploring all of the same part of the world. And like whether you're driving from course to course, um, like the entire thing in itself almost feels like one giant course. And to be honest, when I about like the whole concept of this game, I'm not gonna lie, um, I was one of those people that was a little concerned about potentially like the experience that Mario Kart traditionally brings of like playing normal courses, like picking your favorite courses to play. And, I think that any worries that I had about that have been very squarely squandered. Um, because to be honest, the ingenuity of how this game is designed is that and this is something I especially picked up on when I was doing a bit of the free roam, which I still need to do a lot more of, but I did do a good bit of it for at least like an hour or two. And um and this is where I really picked up on the ingenuity of this design of the game is that basically the entire thing is like one gigantic force. So like even in the um like parts of the Grand Prix, for example, where you're like racing in between the courses, um the race between courses almost feels like an entire second course in itself. So like there are four courses in the Grand Prix, but four courses means that there are three things in between, and all of those drives look very different. So it's almost like you're getting seven courses in one, essentially. And in my mind, that completely perfectly solves the issue or concerns that I could have possibly had about like the potential like lack of tracks in comparison to the massive 96 in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And this is why I started the video by saying that I think that it's great that these two games coexist because they can provide different experiences. Because if you want that kind of traditional Mario Kart experience, you can just go back and play Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Because, if you did like me and your Switch 1 transferred over to your Switch 2, then Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is still going to be on the Switch 2 and perfectly able to play, in addition to Mario Kart World. So, even if you didn't do that, and you still play it on a Switch One, for example, then Mario Kart is hardly one of the games that would have been affected by the Switch's much more dated hardware. So even if you're playing it on the Switch One still, then there's no issue with getting that same core Mario Kart experience that you might be missing if you get tired of the unique formula or spin that Mario Kart World is introducing. And I think that that is the really great thing and the ingenuity behind this game's design is the fact that um, they really tinkered and experimented with something new, and it's clear to me anyway that they weren't exactly concerned with fans being disappointed with the amount of content because they knew and they kind of had this knowledge that Mario Kart 8 Deluxe will continue to exist and will continue to be an amazing game forever. As long as there are people that are still alive to play it. So, um, in that sense, I really feel like there is there is so much like content that you can really glean from this game because like I said, the drives in between courses are essentially like another course in themselves, especially with the amazing way that the kind of world design goes together and the changing of scenery feels like it blends together so naturally. Um, and I think you can also really tell this with the free roam mode. But yeah, I think that is my biggest point that I really love about this game is I think the world design is absolute genius. Um, but other aspects that I really like, I think that the new knockout tour mode is heap and heaps of fun. It is such a unique like twist on uh of a Mario Kart mode in comparison to what I've known in the past, and I really like it. I'm a big fan of the Knockout Tours. I think that they are a very fun mode, and I think uh if anything, like even way more than the Grand Prix, they really increase this feeling of getting more courses in the drives between because of the way that the laps are structured and such. And kind of going back to that idea, one thing that I also really like, I like a change that I really like that I think was this was maybe perhaps more of a riskier change, especially considering the traditional Mario Kart formula and what that's been in the past. But I think the decision to have like the courses not have three laps and instead kind of make all the courses like these really big things um with like all very distinct sections and whatnot. I think that that was such a cool idea. And again, I reiterate, like, if you kind of were put off by that and you want that traditional, like, standard through lap experience that is like the Mario Kart norm, then you can just go back and play Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Um, I think that is just I really love that decision that they made because I think that it allows for potentially it allows for much bigger tracks and more like diverse areas and more interesting locales and everything like that that you can get to see. So I am a huge, huge fan of the way that that works. Um, I have not tried the battle mode yet. That is one thing that I still really need to experiment with. But I did do one of the versus races, and this is quite different in that there are much less rules this time, which I think is an interesting change. But another thing I really, really love is that you can choose in the options of a versus race to have uh like one of the options is like a connected experience. And I think that this is such a fantastic little detail because for whatever reason, if you happen to end up getting tired of the way that of which by the way, I kind of doubt that that would honestly have been happening at this point because the game has literally only been out for 3 days. But um, what I was gonna say is that if like at a certain point, people find themselves tired of the way that the Grand Prix are structured, like if they end up doing times and they get kind of tired of it, or the same thing with the knockout tours, like you can't have that versus race mode, but if you happen for whatever reason to get tired of the connecting courses in each of the Grand Prix, then your problems are all perfectly solved. Because in this feature of the versus race, what you can do is say you're gonna do like a thing of 10 races. Before you actually start the versus race, you can pick like horses to connect each other to. And so theoretically, depending on how many courses you want to do, you can continually make your own custom experiences by connecting the tracks together in different ways that leads to like a absolutely ridiculous amount of possibilities in terms of unique experiences by connecting all of the tracks together. And um that's something that I still haven't like quite grasped the like idea of yet. But like I'm like having a really fun time in my head just like thinking of the potential of playing all of these like super unique courses and like the unique ways in which I might be able to connect them. And like I feel like it really opens up a lot of the imagination and kind of really encourages more of the world exploration beyond the already great free roam mode, which I will talk about a little bit more in a second. But like that possibility of just more openness, I think is just brilliant in the way that it encourages the imagination to make these unique combinations in the versus race settings. And again, that's if you happen to, for some reason, get bored of the already really interesting combinations that are in all the Grand Prix and Knockout Tour Cups. So, and in addition to this, they also have the time travel mode returning. So there's that amount of content as well. And I don't even know what the battle mode looks like. Like I said, I still need to play around in that. Um, and speaking of content, I haven't even talked about that much. There is the free roam mode, which I did mention a little bit, but um, I love this. This is like I've played Forza Horizons before, and I was a big fan of the kind of driving around and exploring in those games. And this is just that, but Mario Kart version. Although it is a little bit different because of the fact that Forza had a very um separate system in terms of like how you joined races and whatnot. And while that is kind of true for Mario Kart as well, like you can full on go on every single course while you're in free roam mode. And I think that this is such a unique detail. And there's tons of really cool secrets to find in the free roam mode, such as like costume changes and like little piece switch challenges that you can hit. And it kind of rewards your knowledge of being able to like do tricks and become faster in the game. And the mechanical stuff is the next thing I will talk about. So I love the free roam mode. But something I might be an even bigger fan of is the kind of very mechanical changes that they make to this game, such as like introducing a ton of new animation and um uh how do you say and like the difference in the physics, like the fact that like hitting a car or something, or maybe even getting hit by a red shell, there are some chances depending on like the angle and some other things that like you could not completely lose your momentum potentially, and it doesn't even affect you that much as a hit. And I think that that really kind of suits the more chaotic nature of having 24 racers, which I also really like that change, by the way. I think that's really cool. Um, and I love all of those mechanical changes. I think it really like freshens up the racing experience in a really fun way. And I also think there's some fun new power-ups introduced in this game. And I really like how unpredictable it can be in terms of like how you can be behind 10 places, and then you get one gold mushroom, you automatically in first place. Then you could be hit by a blue shell and back down 5 places again. I really, really like that kind of like unpredictableness, and I think it's very fun. So in conclusion, my main point, and yes, this is going to be what I title the video. Um, I absolutely do think that Mario Kart World is definitely worth the $80 price tag. Now, I will be totally upfront. Yes, I did buy the bundle version. Even in spite of that, even if the bundle option was not available, I feel confident in saying, based on my playing experience, that I would happily pay $80 to like buy a normal Switch 2 and a copy of it for another $80. I would absolutely do that. Um, because I think that Mario Kart World is such a fucking fun game with its new mechanics and the kind of interconnectedness of the world map and everything like that, and the kind of tracks feeling. But the main reason that I think it is worth the $80 is because of the potential content that you can make out of it yourself, and kind of how I feel like in this game you can let your imagination sort of run wild in terms of what kind of track experiences you want to have. And in a sense, you kind of make your own content and explore it yourself. And in that sense, I think that like I have to disagree with people I've seen that kind of say that it feels kind of empty and whatnot, because I think that the idea behind the imagination of it all means that you can create so many ideas and possibilities of track connections that I think that you can make enough content to, at least for me, absolutely justify the $80 price tag. Um, so yeah, that's gonna do it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed, and I hope that you were all that you all managed to get Switch 2s and are enjoying Mario Kart World as much as I have been. But that's going to do it for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all later. Bye bye.